April is Autism Acceptance and Awareness Month, and this is part of a series aimed at increasing acceptance and awareness. My name is Sam and I was diagnosed with autism in my 30s after a lifetime of wondering why I was so different to other people. Today I want to talk about 10 things that autistic people wish you knew about us and about autism. There are so many misconceptions out there about who we are and what we're capable of. I think the problem with autism awareness is that people might be aware that autism exists, but their information is often 20 years out of date and based on stereotypes or observations from outsiders and not on our own personal experience. And no amount of formal education or training can be a substitute for listening to actual autistic people talk about what life is like for them. Far from lacking self-awareness, we often have a great deal of insight into our own condition. So let's begin. Number 1, it's time to get humble. You are probably wrong about autism. I did a psychology degree, and their description of autism is nothing like my own experience. Looking to neurotypical run organizations and researchers to describe our experience is not going to get you any closer to understanding or acceptance. Listen to us. Number 2, the autism spectrum isn't linear. It doesn't go from mild to moderate to severe autism. It's multidimensional. If you're interested in learning more about that, I have another video on functioning labels, which I will link to, and I suggest you check that out. Number 3, autism doesn't have a look. It is an invisible disability. People look at me or watch my videos and say, "You're completely normal," or "You don't look autistic." Well, autism is something that happens on a neurological level. You can't see my brain. We are not yet at the point where you can diagnose autism through a brain scan. So we have to go on behaviour and personal testimony. Some people present more atypically than others, and this means that their behaviour is more obviously autistic. But that has nothing to do with severity, because believe it or not, we can suppress our own autistic behaviours. This brings us on to number 4. Autistic people can, and do, mask. Think of the way a chameleon blends into its surroundings. Autistic people often do the same, with various learned strategies, such as masking, mimicking, obsessively studying social behaviour, and even changing parts of their lives to make differences seem less obvious. I've also done a video on masking, which you can go to after this one if you're interested in that. Masking basically means that an autistic person can go for decades without anyone even recognising autism in them. Anthony Hopkins was diagnosed in his 70s, probably because he was so good at acting, or masking. Number 5, we can be empathetic, sometimes far too empathetic. There are many reasons why the autistic people have no empathy myth abounds. Because we might not show emotions on our faces. We might prefer logical or rational thought processes over purely emotional ones. And we might not react in the way you would expect in any given situation. None of these things are the same as not having empathy. Sure, there are some autistic people who report they don't have any empathy, but there are a lot of neurotypical people who don't as well. Number 6, we communicate differently, but that doesn't make us disordered. A recent study looking at communication among autistic people found that we actually communicate quite well when we're in a group of other autistic people. And this is not what you would expect if our communication was inherently disordered. The trouble is, non-autistic people interpret our communication according to their own standards, putting their labels on us. So they might perceive us as rude when that was never our intention to be rude or to offend someone. Constantly being misunderstood like this can be very alienating and even traumatizing. Number 7, we socialize differently, not less. For an autistic person, bluntness can be a compliment, because it might mean that we're comfortable enough with you to let you know what we really think. Sometimes the nicer I am, the less comfortable I feel with the person. Number 8, autism is neurological, not behavioural. Our behaviour is completely and utterly dependent on our brains, as is everyone's behaviour. The thing is, we can change our behaviour, we can suppress our stims, we can learn social scripts, and potentially appear just as normal as anyone else. But we will still be just as autistic as before, no matter how we behave. In fact, studies show that suppressing our autistic traits and behaviours can actually result in poorer mental health outcomes for autistic people. Stimming is self-regulating and self-soothing and should be widely accepted. Number 9. There is validity to self-diagnosis. People like to think that self-diagnosis is trendy and we shouldn't take people seriously unless they have a real diagnosis. But the fact is that waiting lists can be years in some places, be completely unavailable in others, can cost a small fortune, and many doctors gatekeep the assessment process itself, which means that if they're not up to date with how autism presents in women and minorities, then those people won't get referred to assessment. Tell me how that's fair. It's a privilege to have a diagnosis, and we shouldn't look down on people who don't have access to one. Number 10. Our autism affects us differently each day. Sometimes I can easily make a phone call, I pick up the phone and I do it, and it's fine. Sometimes it fills me with dread deep into my soul, and I put it off for 3 weeks, before finally getting somebody else to make the phone call while I cry upstairs. How we react and what we can cope with varies throughout our lives. Varies throughout the day even. So just because we managed something yesterday doesn't mean that we'll be able to do it tomorrow. And just because we struggle with something now doesn't mean that it will always be that way. We are so capable of learning and improving, but we are also susceptible to autistic burnout, which can be a major setback to any improvements we make. I really could go on and on about what autistic people wish you knew. I think my whole channel is what autistic people wish you knew. Let me know in the comments below what you wish people knew about autism and autistic people. Thank you so much for watching. I make weekly videos about autism and neurodiversity right here on YouTube. So please subscribe for more content like this and give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it. This video was made for World Autism Acceptance Week 2020, so please share it widely with your family, with your friends, on your social media accounts. If you like this video and want to see more of my content, please check out all my playlists and my videos. I've got plenty, it should keep you busy. Stay safe and I'll see you next time. Bye.